This is Isaac with RedCastle Outdoors. Hopefully you've watched our last video where we explained how to fly fish and practice with a piece of yarn. So today we want to move up a step and we're going to put a fly on. A lot of these flies here I have tied myself, but other ones I've purchased. And I use a lot of different ones depending on where I'm at. When I'm up in the UNs or up some high mountain lakes fishing for trout, I'll take these Royal Coachman, I'll use the Mosquitoes, I'll usually bring Renegades, like these ones here. And you know, I find that anything that has a red on it, a little bit of red or brown, works really nice for up in the UNs. And you know, sometimes you just try something, and sometimes it'll work and sometimes it won't, but yeah. I'm going to be using a mosquito pattern. This is about a number 12 or a number 14 hook. You'll hold the fly like this in your left hand with the hook facing up, and you'll take the leader and you'll slide it right through the eyelet, and bring it down about that much. We've got about an inch or so there. Alright, so you'll just go ahead and wrap it a few times, and it can be a little tricky because sometimes the line will want to just pull away from you. So you just wrap it 6 or 7 times for this smaller line. If it's a thicker line, you'll do less wraps. So you'll take this end and you'll slip it not through the eyelet of the hook, but through the eyelet you've created on the leader, and then lick it. So you reduce all the friction and go ahead and pull it up nice and tight. So when I go fishing up in the UNs or fishing up in the mountains somewhere, I will always have on hand a pair of fingernail clippers, but of course doing this tutorial, we never have everything we want or need, it seems like. So I've got a little bit of excess line right there. So I'm just gonna go ahead and snip that off, being careful not to snip the line that I just tied. And that's why fingernail clippers are so much easier than a pair of scissors. But I've clipped that off. It's nice and snug. Let's go catch ourselves some fish.
Why do you want to catch fish, Isaac?
Because I like to eat them. They're so good. I like to eat fish.
What's your favorite kind of fish?
Oh, I like to catch rainbows and tiger trout and brook trout. So I'd say actually tiger trout and brook trout are my two favorite that I like to catch and eat. They taste really good and they fight really nice when you catch them. What you'll find is that rainbow trout, they like to, you'll catch one and they like to jump out of the water and they put on a nice show. So they're fun to catch as well. Generally, in my experience, brook trout and brown trout or tiger trout, they like to dive, and the bigger ones will dive down real deep and give you a good fight. Well, striped bass, they're fun to catch. They dive down real hard and bend your pole like in half. And yeah.
Are there different like techniques depending on the fish you're going for, or mostly just different flies?
Every fish, depending on where they're located, will eat different food at different times of the day, different times of the year. I have a brother-in-law who he'll go fishing and he'll look around and see what insects are landing on the water, what's being eaten by the fish there. So he'll actually have his fly tying kit with him, and he'll start tying flies that look exactly like what's landing on the water. Tie that on, throw it out there, and he'll catch them. And he's an expert at that kind of stuff. Sometimes I'll tie a fly, it doesn't even look like anything remotely close to something you'd buy in the store, but if it's got a little bit of red, some gray or black on it, you'll just nail those high mountain trout. fishing in a river, you might want to go with like a nymph pattern. And Mike's got a hornet flying on him. You might want to go with like a nymph pattern that's going to go underneath, go down under. It just depends on what fish are there, what kinds of fish, and what kind of food is around. So try a bunch of different kinds of flies and see what works. A lot of times what I'll do when I'm fishing around a high mountain lake is I'll put on like a mosquito pattern, and I'll cast out in various different places. And if I don't catch anything, I'll switch to another fly and boom, I'll hit them. So the fish are kind of picky sometimes, and so you want to be switching up what you're doing. If something's not working, switch up and put something on and find something that will work. Pull some of our leader out. And I don't want to get too close to the edge, or otherwise they're going to see me. And so you kind of want to just, I learned this from my dad. Not all fly fishermen do this, but my dad is one of the best fly fishermen that I've ever fished with, and he can seem to catch them right and left all the time. So you want to get down a little bit and just kind of get as much line out there. I can see quite a few fish out there next to that black swan. And so I've got my 10 to 2, working my 10 to 2 back and forth. I've got enough line out there. So I'm holding a little bit of line with my left hand, and then I'm gonna let go of it when I put the line out there. Didn't catch one, so I'm gonna bring it back up. Go for another spot, just let it softly lay out onto the water. There's one that's going for it. It's going for it. Oh, he passed up on it. So let's try another spot. And sometimes what I'll do is I'll either pull line in like this and let it just move across the water. Kind of entice them a little bit. And other times I'll just reel it in real slow. Kind of just preference, whatever you decide works best for you. Something to know about these fish is these fish have been in here and they've been caught and released many times, and so they're very, very, very smart and very finicky. I'm gonna try casting out as far as I can, because these guys have already wisened up. They can kind of see me. Oh! I had one bite, but I jerked it out of his mouth. So another trick when fly fishing is if you have a dry fly on, you want to keep that dry. You want to keep it on top of the water. So you'll bring it up and you can kind of just swing it back and forth like this until you've dried off the fly as best you can. And then throw it back out there, and then it will be dry on top of the water. Got one. See? If your fly is down under the water, if it's a dry fly, oh, I missed him. I had him on though. If your fly is wet and it's supposed to be a dry fly, they're not going to bite it. So you can get some strike indicators, like a little red strike indicator, so you can kind of see when the fish take it. I've never really used it, so I'm just kind of used to just watching it fly And as soon as that fly disappears, then I'll pull it. So these fish might have wisened up to this fly, and also obviously the ones that are close to the shore and know that I'm here. So we might have to switch, either switch locations or switch the fly and try something different. Ooh, I just missed him. I jerked it too soon. I got too excited because I saw that he was gonna bite it. If I don't get one here, I'm gonna cast a little over to the right here. Got him. Okay, so you want to keep your line tight. If it starts swimming towards you, you got to pull your line in and keep your pull high. So this guy's swimming right towards me, so he's making it a little tricky for me. All right, so I got this bad boy on the line. He's a nice size one. So I hold my line and my pole tight together so that the line doesn't get away from me. And then I go ahead and grab this end. If you have a net, you can use a net. We don't have a net with us today. So I'm just gonna kind of slowly bring him in. You can get up nice and close, Mike. Zoom that in so we can see that bad boy. So check that guy out. He's a good sized fish there. So get down next to the shore, and I got to be really careful here because he could take one sudden burst of energy out and he'll snap my line and take my fly with him. So you want to wet your hands because the fish have slime on their skin to protect from infections and stuff like that. So you get your hands wet. And oh, come on, guy, come on, come on. Yee. Okay, there we go. Nice looking fish there. I'm gonna get the hook out. There we go. Nice looking fish. Sometimes you have to kind of move them back and forth in the water, flush them water through their gills, and they'll get their energy back to get back out into the water. If you let them go too soon, sometimes they'll go belly up and they won't live. I find that if you're kind of down in this position, you're on the ready for if you're going to catch a fish or not. So I got one on. He's a little guy though. The last one we caught was quite a bit bigger. So we'll bring him in, same kind of thing. He's not as big a fish, so I don't have to worry as much, maybe. He's a little feistier though. Man, he's all over the place. Slowly bring him in. Let him run if he needs to run a little bit. Otherwise you'll snap your line. It's kind of just... Alright, we got him up. So I'm just gonna reach in there. Oh, this one's a little deep, Mike. I need to get my pair of pliers out. Okay, so sometimes when they get down in there, it's pretty deep, so I need to get, I always keep a pair of little forceps on, and I'll get down in there, get a hold of that hook before he swallows it. And and get it out. Okay, and we'll let him go. All right, so we've caught a few fish here today. It's been a lot of fun. We will have some more videos. Just let us know in the comments below if there's something that you want to learn, or something a little bit in more detail, or any other subjects that you would want to hear about. We've got some other videos coming up on how to catch a fish with a spinner or with a lure. See, Isaac catches them and I eat them.
It's tiger trout. It's the biggest one that we caught this whole trip. And the way I caught this beast is I just have a really simple, small